Well, hello there and welcome again, Disability Law Show. John Scholes here. Beside me, Sivan Tumarkin, co-founding partner, Samfiru Tumarkin LLP, the most positively reviewed disability law firm in this country. Before we get started, got a bunch of stuff to get through in the show today. I'll give you some contact information right off the top. Phone number, easiest way, 1-855-821-5900, help@disabilityrights.ca. And throughout the show, we will be referring to several websites, including mydisabilityquestions.com. That one is free. It is anonymous. It's also got a searchable database. That means if you have a question for Sivan or a member of his team, you can see if a similar question has been asked. If it has, it's been answered. It'll save you some time. If not, leave your question there and Sivan or a member of his team will get through it. More of that on the way, plus 3 things you need to know before filing an LTD claim. That's a little later on. But Sivan, we always start, brother, with the week that was. What's been going on for you?
Well, John, it's been a very busy week.
Yep.
Just generally, it's been a very busy few months, and I think a year and a half even with COVID happening. A lot of individuals out there are having issues with their insurance companies, but not just the insurance companies, also with their employers. And as our viewers know, John, our firm specializes specifically in 2 areas of law: disability law, long-term disability, as well as employment law. And oftentimes these areas intersect. Let me tell you about a call that I received this week from a gentleman in Edmonton, in Alberta. He's a 47-year-old man, father of 2 young children. He's a widower, and he's an architect. About a year and a half ago, he had issues at work. He's been working in the same company for over 15 years. And he started having issues at work because they had a new manager that came on the scene. And there started being bullying behavior, harassment behavior, and everything of the sort. And this gentleman who called me started becoming depressed, a lot of anxiety, and eventually got so bad that he's been diagnosed with PTSD as a result of the situation. Now, he has a psychiatrist that is helping him. He's on medications, he's getting treatments, and he applied for long-term disability, and he was denied. And he was denied based on the fact that the disability arose out of his workplace issues. And so the insurance company, his disability insurer, when they denied his claim, they said this is situational, meaning that this is specific to your workplace situation. So therefore, listen, you have long-term disability insurance, but it's not bad boss insurance.
Right, okay, I gotcha.
If you want, you can go after your employer for constructive dismissal, whatever the situation is. But that's not really what's happening here. It's true that the disability arose as a result of the situation at work, but now his condition has become generalized. And so when you have a situation when a person becomes disabled because of something that happens at work, but because of their generalized condition, meaning that now it's just way bigger than just a workplace. Now he can't work in any workplace, not just where he used to work, but anywhere because of his condition. His condition is generalized. He should be getting long-term disability. So the insurance company is incorrect in denying his claim. And I explained that to him. I looked at the reports from his psychiatrist. It's completely clear that the insurance company is wrong. And I explained to him, look, we're going to be able to help you. Don't worry about a thing. You're not going to have to deal with your insurance company. We'll take over everything. We'll take over communications. I could have sensed the relief over the phone when I told him this, because, you know, he has enough to deal with, dealing with those 2 small kids. His wife is gone. Very, very important. People need to understand when the insurance company denies your claim, you need to understand that you may have options. There may be ways to go after the insurance company to force them to pay you what you're owed. But I started the segment, John, by saying that we specialize in disability and employment law. Well, not only does he have a claim against the insurance company that we can help him, I had him speak with one of our employment lawyers. And he was advised that, yes, this is not right, what's happened at work, and that he has something he can do also with respect to his employer, just letting this new manager do whatever he wants and essentially abuse the employees. So we'll be able to help him on both fronts. So that's what we do often. We protect people from their insurance companies when they don't get treated correctly, and from their employers when the employers are not doing what they should be doing.
So back at the beginning when this went down and the insurance company said, no, you don't qualify, their whole stance was, if not for geographically where you work, you wouldn't have this problem. I.e., if you went across the street to work, you'd be fine. But then it became more general. That's where you stepped in.
That's correct. That's exactly it. The test really is your condition now the reason why you cannot work specifically tied to your workplace? If you're a pilot and you're working for Air Canada as an example, and you're having issues there, but you then get transferred to a different office or you move to a different city, you start working for WestJet, whatever, and you can work for them, well, it is then situational. It's with respect to the office where you work.
Right.
But if now you can't work for any airline because of your condition, which originated with the initial workplace, well, then at that point, the insurance company is on the hook, and they have an obligation to pay you what you're owed.
You did mention there as well that there was a great feeling of relief even before any mention of money was bandied about. The fact that the phone calls will stop. Right? What do you mean by that?
What I mean by that is that most people, they get very anxious and they get very worried with dealing with an insurance company. I see this all the time. I talk to people all the time who tell me, Sivan, how you're talking on TV, you're talking on the radio, you're telling people you can take on these insurance companies, but these are billion-dollar entities. Yeah. And I tell them, you're right, technically, but practically, you're not dealing with a billion-dollar entity. You're dealing with an adjuster on the other side, who's probably overworked, probably is overlooking facts that have to do with your case. And you have to understand that these insurance companies, for all the money in the world that they have, they're not above the law. And they can be forced to comply with the law and to pay you what you're owed. And by the way, I'm not just talking to somebody who's done that, and the rest of my team do this across the country, really. But I'm talking as someone who used to work for insurance companies.
Right.
So I'm telling you, these insurance companies can be brought to heel.
We've talked about this before on our other show, the Employment Law Show, and I told you we're going to throw a bunch of websites at you during this show. But there is a website, pocketemploymentlawyer.ca. You're thinking, John, why are you talking about that here? This is a disability law show. But there is a pretty robust section on that particular website, as Sivan just mentioned. A lot of crossover between employment law and disability law. So there is this section on the pocketemploymentlawyer.ca website about disability law. Tell me about it.
Yeah, there is that section because most people, as we started the show and telling you about this gentleman here, have issues both with their insurance company as well as with their employer. And people, they oftentimes don't want to call, don't want to email. They just want, fast information. Google the information. But, the problem with Google is that obviously Google will produce wrong information, or they'll give you information from the States, from other places in the world, and it's just not accurate. And so we developed this website, which is free. Whether you have an employment issue, whether you have a disability issue, go on this website, the Pocket Employment Lawyer website, and all you're doing is just inputting a few key pieces of information. Okay? It's anonymous, by the way. If you don't want to contact us, we're not going to know you've been there. But you're going to get the answers that are custom tailored to your situation. Takes about 10, 15 seconds, 20 seconds max.
Yep.
And you'll get the information you need, either on the employment side or on the LTD side.
You can also email anytime. That is help@disabilityrights.ca. God, we go through a ton of these on the radio show. We'd like to get through some on this show as well, Sivan. Want to read one. First one for today comes from Andrea. Says, I was approved for LTD when my fibromyalgia began flaring up. The insurance company eventually sent me for an assessment with a doctor, they recommended. When they told me to take new medications, my doctor disagreed, and they felt that the recommendations was not a good long-term solution. My benefits are now being cut off as I'm not compliant with recommended treatment. Can they force me to take medication that my doctor says will harm me?
100% no. And this is very important because here we're dealing with an injurious question that deals with medications, but sometimes it's various rehab treatments, sometimes it's other types of treatments. And the insurance company will say, but our doctor said that you need to do X, Y, and Z. Well, that doctor that the insurance company hired is not your treating doctor. What I tell people is, look, don't just say you're not going to comply with any of the recommendations. Tell them that you're going to take whatever report, whatever recommendations were generated by the insurance doctor, you're going to discuss it with your own doctors, and then you're going to get your doctor's opinions and recommendations, and you're going to follow your own doctor's treatment and recommendations, because these are your doctors. Mm-hmm. No one in the world, I'm talking about a judge, I'm talking about anyone objective, is going to say that you did something wrong by following your own doctor's recommendations. And if there is a dispute as between the two doctors, the doctors treating you and the insurance doctor, I'm telling you, that's what I would do. I would follow the treatment doctors. And I'm telling you that if this ever went to court, I cannot envision a judge disagreeing with the treatment doctor. Now, a judge is not a doctor either. But again, at the end of the day, you are the patient, you're the claimant. Your health comes first. For the insurance company here, John, to take the position that you are somehow breaching the provisions of the policy, you're not fulfilling your obligations by not following the recommendations of the insurance doctor, is ludicrous to me. When your own treating doctors that you've known for months, if not years, are telling you, do X, and the insurance doctor says, do Y. To me, it's a clear-cut choice. You follow what your doctors are saying.
Is it the same rule if you're talking about the insurance company sending you for a specific place for treatment, physio, chiro, etc.? You use our guy or our people to do that?
You don't have to do that. Unless there's something in the policy, your insurance policy, that says, let's say there's a provision that says you have to see Dr. X or Clinic Y. But these policies never say that. They simply say you have to be engaged in reasonable treatments. And that's true, and that makes sense, by the way. Why should the insurance company pay you any benefits if you're just refusing any treatments whatsoever, even from your own doctors? Right. But no, if they're telling you you need physio, if they're telling you you need some kind of other treatment, go to your family doctor, go to whoever's treating you, get recommendations of where to go, where to get those treatments. Now look, if the insurance company, if they're saying, we think you should be doing X and Y by way of treatments, and there are no other clinics, no other doctors that provide that except for the ones the insurance company is giving you, you got to think twice whether or not you're going to reject that, because you do want to get better at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is that if it's a choice between going to your doctors or going to people your doctors recommend for treatments and who the insurance company tells you to go to, hands down I would go to whoever my doctor tells me to go to.
I'm not saying it's like that. It just seems that there might be some interest on the other side if a certain clinic is getting 20, 300 people from a specific insurance company.
You have to think to yourself, why is the insurance company telling you go to that specific clinic?
Right.
No different than a car accident. Go to that garage. You should get your car fixed.
Shop.
Exactly. Why? Why?
Yeah.
Because you're getting a discount from them? Because somehow they're giving me, substandard parts? I have no idea. Maybe they're good. But I'm questioning why the insurance company is insisting that I go to this specific doctor, this specific chiropractor, this specific clinic. Again, you have no obligation, unless it stipulates that you do, and it won't, you have no obligation to go to a specific clinic. You have an obligation to get reasonable treatments under the policy, but you can get those by following the advice of your doctors.
Short break, 3 things to know before filing an LTD claim. That is coming up after the break. The number in the meantime, 1-855-821-5900. DisabilityRights.ca is the website. We'll continue. Disability Law Show. Hang on.
People think you should go to the government to get severance pay. EmploymentLawyer.ca says that is a myth. Government can only help you get minimum severance, but not everything you're entitled to. Always check with the employment lawyer first at EmploymentLawyer.ca. If your long-term disability claim is denied, should you appeal?
Appeals often fail because insurance companies control the process. So long as you appeal, you're playing by their rules.
You should never appeal the denial of your disability benefits. Appeals are just a mirage of false hope.
Don't. That's their process. Take it out of their hands and fight for your rights with our help.
Go to DisabilityRights.ca. Discover your rights, fight back, and get what you're owed. People think their employer can make changes to their job. EmploymentLawyer.ca says that is a myth. Your employer can't change your pay, hours, or duties. You may be entitled to full severance pay. Always check with the employment lawyer first at EmploymentLawyer.ca.
Alrighty, welcome back. Disability Law Show. Good to have you along on the show today. John Scholes, Sivan Tumarkin, the co-founding partner, Samfiru Tumarkin LLP. That's who you want to reach out to. Anytime, 1-855-821-5900. And if you go to the website, disabilityrights.ca, that's the firm website, there's a media section there. You'll find access to our variety of radio shows across the country that Sivan and his partners do. You want to tune into those every week. We get a ton of phone calls. They're an hour long. You can make a phone call, ask your questions there as well. It's been going on for years and years. But 3 things you need to know before filing an LTD claim. Sivan, let's get right into this. Number 1, you need your doctor's support to confirm that you are unable to work.
This is important, John, very, very important, because most people, when they apply for long-term disability and they get denied and they come to us, we say, okay, well, send us whatever letters, whatever documentation your doctor provided confirming you're disabled. And sometimes we get people who tell us, well, I don't have any doctors. Well, if you don't have any doctors, that's a problem, because the insurance company can't just take your word for it, unfortunately. They do need some support. Now, I'm using the word doctor loosely here. Maybe you have a psychotherapist. Maybe you have a psychologist who's not a medical doctor, but is a PhD, right? Maybe you have a chiropractor, whatever. You need to have people who are treating you provide information in writing to the insurance company confirming your disability and why you're disabled. Now, the other reason why we see people getting denied often is because they in fact provide medical documentation, but they provide very kind of loosey-goosey documentation.
General.
Yeah, where the doctor says this person suffers from X, but doesn't explain why that disables the person. Functionally, why is the person unable to do their job? So you need to make sure that you do have doctor support when you apply for long-term disability, otherwise you are at risk of getting rejected outright.
Because your doctor is seen as the gatekeeper of your health, and
Yep.
the insurance company wants to have their opinion. Of
Absolutely,
Makes
that's
perfect
exactly
sense.
right.
Makes perfect- That leads to number 2, though. Insurance companies often deny claims despite medical support from the treating doctor.
Yeah, it kind of contradicts itself. Why go through the whole
They say no.
process? Well, because insurance companies often cherry pick from the documentation that you provide them. They will cherry pick information that may be helpful to them and say, on that basis, we're denying your claim. And when we look at it, we say, wait a second, why did you select fact A and B, but not C, D, E, F, and G? And you know, the reality is insurance companies deny claims all the time. They deny claims because they say you're not totally disabled. They deny claims because they say that there's not enough support for your claim, because it's a workplace issue. There's a whole slew of issues or reasons or excuses why they deny claims, despite you providing medical support for your disability. And you know, when that happens, it's really quite simple. You need to get in touch with us, because all we're going to do, it's going to take us only a few minutes. We're going to look at the denial letter, we're going to look at the documentation you've provided to the insurance company, and we will tell you right there and then for free if in fact the insurance company is correct or not. And sometimes we'll tell you they're correct. More often than not, based on our experience, we'll tell you no, they're incorrect, and here's your menu of options. Here are what you can do. And then you choose, now that you're informed, you can then choose how you want to proceed. But yes, insurance companies often deny claims. Remember, that's how they make money. They don't make money, all these billions of dollars that are their profits, by paying out claims. Yeah. They make their money by collecting premiums and then figuring ways not to pay. That's how they make money. It's a brilliant model. I don't agree with it, but it's a brilliant model if you look at it from a capitalist standpoint.
Sure.
And it's worked well, because most people think that when they get denied, they have no options. You do have options.
And that kind of brings the third one out. Denied benefits. It can be very disturbing, can be disheartening for someone to go through that. It's stressful, but don't give up, first of all, and do not do what the insurance company is probably going to tell you to do in a letter. And we talk about this every show, and that is appeal the denial, right?
Yeah, every denial that I have ever seen from an insurance company for long-term disability always has a paragraph or two, usually tucked in at the end, that says that if you'd like, you can appeal this decision, bring in whatever documents you have, anything new, we'll look at it, we'll review it.
Sounds great.
Sounds fantastic. Almost sounds like they're going to have some third party look at this, right? Like, we're going to bring in some experts from the field, we're going to, you know...
It's a brand new day.
A brand new, exactly. No, nothing of the sort. Nothing of the sort. It's the same insurance company that's going to be reviewing your information, potentially the same people, if not the same department. Look, you can spin your wheels. You can be like a hamster on a wheel for them. The reality is it's designed to frustrate you. And I say this anecdotally because I have seen the frustration that people have when they appeal, get denied, appeal, get denied. And sometimes with all these appeals, not only do they give up, but when they wake up finally, they hear us on the radio or on TV, and they want to do something about it, too much time has passed. And remember, you only have 2 years from the date of first denial to start a lawsuit, to start a legal claim against the insurance company. And if you fail to do that, if you play their game with all these appeals, you may be out of time. And I have seen people who have done that, who've woken up after seeing the show, saying 10 years ago, this is what happened to me. I got denied, appealed. Well, I gave up finally, and I'm still disabled, and I do the math, and I'm thinking to myself, you gave up on $500,000 that's owed to you. So, you know, if you get denied, don't simply appeal. If you want to appeal after speaking with us, by all means, but at least get the information. Let us review the documents and let us tell you what your options are. Then, only then, will you be informed enough to make the right decision.
To get that initial appeal from the insurance company, someone had to put pen to paper to give you that denial.
Yes.
For your benefits. So when you appeal, is that not coming back to the same person who did it in the first place?
Not necessarily. It can be somebody else, but it doesn't matter. It's not going to an objective person.
Right.
It's not going to another company. Yeah. It's not going to a judge. It's not going to another doctor. It's not. They'll tell you, sometimes there's medical review committees, there's doctors involved. They make it seem very, very formal. Look, unless you get independent legal advice, unless you come to us or to lawyers like us, that's all we do. We look at this stuff and we protect individuals against insurance companies. You are at the risk of doing what the insurance company wants you to do, which is just spin your wheels, continue doing what they want you to do until such time that you give up, you have no money, you have no choice, you feel like the world's against you, it's $1 billion company, can't do anything. You need to take power back. And the way you get power back is by getting information, by becoming informed. And if after speaking with us, you still want to spin your wheels and go through the appeal process, do it. No, that's fine.
Yeah.
I have no issue with it. My issue is when people don't know and they're misinformed. They think that that's the only avenue is this appeal process, and it's not.
Oh, I think you said one time, it's like, your son comes up to you begging for a piece of chocolate. You say, no, it's close to dinner time. So 5 minutes later, he comes back. Can I have the chocolate now? No, you can't have the chocolate. It's the same thing.
Every Halloween, that's exactly what happens. Every Halloween, John, my son and my daughter, that's what they do. And except that they try to appeal 10 times. Right. It doesn't work.
You think your son would know now,
finally,
based on his dad.
I tell you, finally they go to their mother, and that's where they usually have more chance. But it's exactly the same thing.
MyDisabilityQuestions.com. I mentioned the website off the top. We're going to get to a question from that, but first we'll take a short break, so hang in for it. 1-855-821-5900. help@disabilityrights.ca is the email address. More show is on the way. Disability Law Show. Hang on.
People think contractors aren't owed severance. EmploymentLawyer.ca says that is a myth. Many contractors are actually employees and are entitled to full severance pay. Always check with the employment lawyer first at EmploymentLawyer.ca. How do you force insurance companies to pay long-term disability claims?
Insurance companies deny legitimate claims all the time. They're playing the odds. They know that most people are just going to walk away.
Your insurer may ignore you, they may even ignore your doctors, but they can't ignore us.
We know how insurance companies work. We know their weaknesses. We know how to use the legal process to force them to pay you what you're owed.
Go to disabilityrights.ca. Discover your rights, fight back, and get what you're owed. People think you are only owed 2 weeks' pay when you lose your job. EmploymentLawyer.ca says that is a myth. You may be owed much more than 2 weeks per year. Don't settle for less. Always check with the employment lawyer first at EmploymentLawyer.ca.
Okay, welcome back. Disability Law Show. Anytime you want to reach out to Sivan and his team, 1-855-821-5900. Also, if you have any questions or a frequently asked question, LTDFAQ.ca. Check that website as well. But this one comes from MyDisabilityQuestions.com. Sivan, Vera, first one from that website today, says the case manager working on my husband's long-term disability claim has been harassing him about why he can't go back to work. My husband's an engineer and has worked for the same company for more than 20 years, but became depressed after recent deaths in the family. Does he have to try to go back to his job once the insurance company starts applying pressure on him?
No, Vera, he absolutely does not. And John, I see this all the time. People contacting me saying, I'm being forced to go back to work, to try a work hardening program. And I tell them, look, you should only try to go back to work. Number one, if you're ready, if you feel you're ready to try. And number two, if your doctors clear you to go back. Right. Very, very important, because the reality is that if you're not ready and your doctors don't think you're ready and you try to go back, you may do more damage. You may regress. Now, some people think that they have no choice. They think that, well, but what's my alternative? The insurance company is going to stop my benefits. Well, first of all, in these situations, the insurance company doesn't just cut off your benefits. They'll give you a heads up. They tell you, if you don't comply and try to return back by so-and-so date, we will end your benefits. Right. As soon as they say that, if you know that that's wrong, you know that your doctors are not approving you to go back, and you know that you are not ready to go back, you let us know and we'll intervene on your behalf. And oftentimes we can make these adjusters back off. Now, in terms of what you can do on your own, I'll tell you what you can do. If you feel you can't go back to work at this point in time, if you've spoken to your doctors or whoever's treating you and they agree that you're not ready, well then go to your doctors, get a letter from them that explains why it is that you are not ready to go back. Now, John, one website that I don't think we've mentioned is ltdfaq.ca.
Yep.
So LTDFAQ, frequently asked questions.ca, is a website we put together a few months back. It's been accessed thousands of times now, and it's a free website. It's got memos, short memos for the public on specific topics. One of them is what should be in your doctor's letter to the insurance company.
Cool.
And I think it's 2 or 3 pages long. It explains exactly what it is that you need your doctor to, not to say, but what your doctor needs to touch on. And so make sure your doctor provides this information to the insurance company and explains why is it you're now ready at this point in time to go back. And if the insurance company, Vera, despite getting this information from your husband's doctors, still says to your husband, we're going to cut off the benefits unless he tries to go back to work, at that point he has a legal claim against the insurance company and we can go after them. Because they can't just do this. Remember, John, they're trying to just get people off claim. Their job, these adjusters, is to save money for their overlords, right? The supervisors, the managers, the board of directors, the insurance company. And oftentimes, after they've approved a claim, after a certain period of time, be it a few months or a few years, they try to get you off claim by saying, we think you're ready to go back, or we think you're ready to go to another job. We want you to do a transferable skills assessment, for example, or some assessment that tells us if you can do something else. The point is they don't want to pay. You don't have to go back to work if you're not ready and if your doctor has not cleared you to go back, period.
Last couple minutes, let's get to an email. Hector writes in, says, my wife and I lost our baby due to complications, and since then she's been diagnosed with depression. We've discussed hospitalization with her doctor. She applied for LTD, but the application was rejected because they say that she's not totally disabled from working. What should we do?
What a terrible situation, John, eh? What a terrible situation. Just imagine the adjuster that denied this claim. I mean, it's absolutely crazy. Let me dispel some myths here. Total disability, it does not mean that you have to be catatonic, does not mean that you have to be in bed, bedridden all day, doesn't mean any of that. You're not brain. All it means is that you have a certain condition or set of conditions or injury that disables you from performing the essential tasks of your own occupation for the first 2 years of LTD, or any occupation for which you're suited for beyond the 2 years. In this case, Hector's wife clearly meets that definition. I mean, they're talking about hospitalization, for God's sake.
Yeah.
To me, this is the type of case that if all the medical documentation is there to support her being off work, for the insurance company to take this kind of a position, to me, opens them up not only to a claim for those benefits, but for punitive damages, to punish the insurance company for bad faith conduct. And we've done this before, and we've been successful before in negotiating these kinds of damages. Hector, please reach out. I mean, this is one of those cases, John, where I can tell you we can get the insurance company most likely to back off immediately.
So totally disabled, I mean, if it sounds dreadful to anybody. I'm not totally disabled, forget it, I'm not going to even try. I guess that's why that term is engineered and used by the insurance company, right? It's brilliant.
It's exactly that. It's designed by the insurance companies to confuse the public, to confuse doctors. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
It's the opinion shared by many of my colleagues, because most people, when you say totally disabled, think you have to be bedridden. That's not what that term means. It simply means you're unable to perform the essential tasks of your occupation or any occupation. If you have any questions, just reach out to us and we'll tell you.
And that changes after 2 years, but totally disabled,
it does.
That's what it means, right?
Yeah.
Generally what it means, yeah.
Yeah.
Lots of information right there. Again, LTD, FAQ. Sivan mentioned the memos. You can go look at those, contribute, and learn a lot more. Pocketemploymentlawyer.ca. There's a section on disability. There's so much to give out in the last 20 seconds of the show. Phone number, 1-855-821-5900, and a simple, good old-fashioned email. How about that? help@disabilityrights.ca, and then disabilityrights.ca to find the radio shows. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll catch you next time, Disability Law Show.
People think you have to sign back a severance offer by a deadline. EmploymentLawyer.ca says that is a myth. Deadlines are used as a pressure tactic. Make sure the offer is fair before you sign. Always check with the employment lawyer first at EmploymentLawyer.ca. Can insurance companies deny long-term disability claims for mental illness?
When you're suffering from a mental health disability, insurance companies just don't understand. But we do.
They can absolutely not force you back to work. If your doctors say you are not ready and you know you're not ready, they cannot make you go back to work.
If you have a mental health disability and your claim is denied, don't give up. Give us a call and let us fight for you.
Go to disabilityrights.ca. Discover your rights, fight back, and get what you're owed. People think you aren't owed severance pay if you are fired for a reason. EmploymentLawyer.ca says that is a myth. Most for-cause terminations are false, and you are still owed full severance. Always check with the employment lawyer first at EmploymentLawyer.ca. People think their employer can make changes to their job. EmploymentLawyer.ca says that is a myth. Your employer can't change your pay, hours, or duties. You may be entitled to full severance pay. Always check with the employment lawyer first at EmploymentLawyer.ca.